Hello, hello, loves. This is EQ with JAH. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. I hope your week was well. Mine was pretty long, but it's good. It's Friday now. We get to relax, we get to chill. Got the chill hot music going. I'm happy. So, as I always start out my videos, I just want to say that I am clairaudient as well as clairsentient. So, I play music to get messages as well as relax myself. And also clairsentient just means that everything that kind of comes in has a symbolism, means something. I feel it, I see it. I see emotions just as you see my face on this video right now. So I read everything that I encounter. With that said, Spirit has been working through me. I was just sitting at work at the desk, and I'm back to my post-its. It's like, write this down and don't forget to talk about it. So I'm going to start off with the channel messages first, and then we will dive in together, and I will give you my soul experience and the entanglement of what all this means energetically as well as tangibly on this 3D plane. So the message that came through for Spirit, it said, the soul is sensitive and it needs to be loved. But it has to learn through hard lessons, because the soul itself is this essence, again, of the ether, the energy, the thing that exudes within inside of us. And it came to this physical 3D plane to experience the human experience in the physical form. So it doesn't know how sensitive it can be in this body. It also doesn't recognize that it's going to take a lot of life lessons, which are a lot harder than getting smacked with a brick. It might hurt to get smacked with that brick, but it's a lot harder to energetically take those lessons learned when it's a metaphorical brick that hits you and you are just wounded and you don't know how to heal from that. So continuing from that, the ego is the sustainable, and it's the sustainable part of us, and it needs care. But it also has to learn through sensitivity. This is why the gentlest touch means something. This is why the most beautiful, tiniest little vision of something brings us joy. This is why smelling something that reminds us of like home and good food makes us excited. This is what the body is for. This is the moment of what I call autodidactic, is when you can take that soul understanding of the hard lessons learned that aren't tangibly here, and you have to actually go through and dissect them, applied to the ego, which is, let's use me as an example. This is my body, this is my flesh. I'm a tall man, I'm a black man, I'm a gay man. I represent all of these things tangibly on the outside. So through what my body has to learn is what it reacts and gives back to the processing of my soul and my mind. Again, the brain is only a recorder, so it doesn't really mean too much besides processing. But how the body feels when the heart starts tightening and the gut starts churning and all that stuff, that's learning how to read the body and listening to it. Yes, honey, what do you want? He just ate, so he wants to hang out. Come here. Hi, Bubba. You just want to say hi? When he wants to say hi and I haven't given enough attention, he has to meow meow. Mochi. So anyways, when you understand that the ego, the flesh, it needs sensitivity to learn. It needs those moments of pleasure and kissing and touching and holding and hugging and just gently lying with. It's important to the aesthetic of who we become and the partners we seek. Now, the example I use for myself, so let's say for me, how I break this down and you make these two things tangible together and intangibly connected, is I am divine feminine energy in a male body, which means that for me, I wrote it down, for me, the other half of that, I guess you can say, equation would be, and that's how it came out. They had me write it like an equation. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little blurry. But anyways, this over this equals this because of this divided, all that good stuff. So because I live through a masculine body, or a man's body, which is projected on the world that way, I have to interchangeably make sense of that. And then my energy, which is my spirit of representation, is feminine energy. It's my creativity. It's how I express myself. It doesn't matter how much of a man I think I am or how much masculine energy I carry within. my feminine energy outpowers that, and that's how I represent myself, which means anytime that I disrespect myself when it comes to how I make my money, when it comes to how I build my family, when it comes to how I present myself, when it comes to how I assert myself, if I am not listening to how I need to do that, then energetically the divine masculine within inside of me shuts down. And then the divine feminine feels like I'm doing all the work. So then your body feels unbalanced and you wonder why am I thinking this way? Why am I on this half of this counter not paying attention to what's being said to me? It's because we haven't learned how to align those two things and say, hey, when you align with your feminine and your masculine within inside of you, then you're listening to both sides of you. Remember, there's a creative side and a logical side. Well, we've already determined that the logical is the framework of the masculine, and the free-flowing creativity of the filler space is the female or the feminine energy, which usually is in the female body or feminine energy. We go back and forth. So if you're not biologically female, then you have to work through the equation that way, which is discovering your masculine attributes through a female body while still giving honor to your feminine energy. We all have to do it. So in line with that, it's saying that the soul is our masculine energy. Everyone's soul is the masculine energy because it's done all the hard work and the seed work and it's been there. The spirit is the ego and the energy that comes without or comes from without, and it comes from without. Like when I say come from without, it comes from us, but it comes from without barrier or boundaries or anything that's hindering. It just comes out. That's just how it goes. Spirit's just ooh, when you're excited, it comes out. It just comes about. That's the best way I can explain it. So understanding that when you marry your feminine energy to your masculine energy within inside of you and you appreciate both for who they are, and that means you're aligning your soul to your ego, because then your ego gets to outlay both of these energies from the soul and the spirit, and then you become your personality, your persona. That is when your twin flame union with self now goes from within, and the so below, so above comes without. Now you are standing in the field where you were planted, and you get to see all of the things that help make you who you are. So this is what I call the integration. The integration is basically the outer self. When we're learning how to be symbiotic with the system out here that says operate this way, but yet we are still an operating system that's a part of this that has to know how to function. So finding our purpose is what connects the function to the body and the mind and the spirit and the soul, and that takes it all back to the center. This, when you understand this element, I call that the shift. Once you're able to shift into a space of understanding that all of these things made me understand who I am out here, and now I get to go in and understand why these things matter to me and if they really are truly important to me. When you can do that, you take yourself closer to a higher vibration of assertion, and then that's when you walk into that soul journey. You have a lighten, or what we call a spiritual enlightenment, or an aha moment, or waking up and woke. Once you are woke and you're aware and you walk into a spiritual enlightenment and you're aligned and you become conscious of your spirituality, that's when the journey of the twin flame, everything begins. Romantic, familial, money, status, all of it. It starts. And I call this the union, because in the union phase, that means that both two individuals, myself and another individual, we both have put in this work. And we both have worked on ourselves on the outside and the inside, married the two, energetically aligned them. So now we vibrationally attract the same types of work, the same types of understanding of love, the same types of groups of people. Because when you're not aligned and you're vibrating up here, you can go to a party and be like, ooh, they so fine, and they never pay attention to you at all because you're not energetically aligned. But when all of a sudden you just lock eyes and you don't know why, or you're just in a certain group with a certain amount of people and you don't know where they came from, this is the spirit saying you belong here. You're aligned with your soul and your spirit and your ego, and therefore the tertiary, the divine trinity, can be one, and they can work through you as a vessel and an antenna. So from that, I understood this as saying, Spirit said, in order to receive, you have to accept, and in order to accept, you have to receive. It's permeability. That is the ebb and flow of consciousness and reality. You have to be a part of reality to understand consciousness, and understand consciousness and understand to be in reality. So it says, Spirit said, do not. I said, what did it say? That's chicken scratch. I'm sorry. We don't need more to get more. We have to be more for ourselves, and thus we receive more. When the hemispheres of the mind that governs the DM and the DF work together, the inner child, which is the heart, is able to be free. And then the three can release a spirit. Remember, your heart has been there. It formed first in the embryo. It formed all of you first, and then everything grew around it. So you were you first, and then the energies started to develop within themselves, and they started to get used to who you are. So when you tell your inner child no, and you feel bad and you feel guilt, that's conditional stuff that was given to you by a paradigm or a generation of people who didn't understand themselves, and we work through that. That's the shadow work that we work through. Once you get through the shadow work, then you're able to recognize, hey, I have not been listening to myself. Let me love myself more. And then your inner child's like, thank you. That inner child gets released and is able to grow up. When that inner child is released and is able to grow up, it unblocks your heart chakra, which unblocks your throat chakra to speak up for what you want to see and be. And then your mind is able to connect to your third eye, which opens up your crown chakra, which lets in the divine masculine and feminine energies, reawakens the kundalini, which goes up and separates and comes out, and everything is just you and you're together. And that's when you join union in the spiritual realm, and you're able to better understand yourself. Now, the message that I got from this, and I wrote this, it was a channeled message, but it was also just me adding in my understanding of it. It's when we serve by taking action, the reflection becomes the reaction, and the presence is how we embrace empathy and love, which is how we teach and learn interchangeably how to grow. When you have an example of something, of how to grow and be and represent and reflect, it actually energetically gets other people excited about it. They're like, I want to do that. I can do that. I can be that. I understand that. So knowing that you are this is when you open up a world to existence beyond yourself. And that's when the love of the union begins, and the twin flame journey can continually begin over and over and over again. All right, guys, I love you. Thanks for watching. Check me out on my Instagram, Facebook, my Epicinity page, and anywhere else you want to find me. Thanks for watching. Mwah.